So the nominees for the Game Awards were revealed on November 13th, and they were interesting. No matter what games were chosen, there were going to be some snubs because 2023 has been absolutely stacked, and honestly, all things considered, I don't even think this is that bad of a list for Game of the Year. I do think there are some notable omissions like Lies of P and Brotato and Final Fantasy and Brotato and Street Fighter 6 and Brotato. Contrary to what you may be thinking, if you're a regular viewer of this channel, I'm actually not really surprised by Starfield not being up there, and honestly, I'm not even mad about it because I'm an adult who doesn't give a hoot whether or not the games I like are recognized by a bunch of corporate stooges all sucking each other off. I mean, my favorite game of all time is Silent Hill 2, which won no awards when it was released and is currently scheduled for public execution by Bloober Team next year, but that's a topic for another day. And my favorite game of 2023, maybe you've heard of it, it's called Brotato, was not nominated for a single award. And you know who's going to be crying about that? Me. I'm going to be crying about that. The thing is, I could nitpick this list endlessly if I wanted to, but that really wouldn't serve any purpose, you know? And frankly, I think it's hysterical that throughout the entire year, people will say places like Polygon and IGN and GameRanks don't actually know what they're talking about, and they're just a bunch of shills who don't actually represent gamers, but when all those places come together at the end of the year on a panel to decide Game of the Year, now, all of a sudden, we have to take them completely seriously, and they're the final arbiters of quality in the gaming industry. Like, guys, this is stupid. Like, the fucking LA Times is on the Game Awards panel, and so is NPR and Variety. It's just a giant media circle jerk. Stop taking it so seriously. This is the same group of people who nominated Destiny 2 for Best Community Support. And I shouldn't even have to explain why that's probably the funniest thing to come out of all the nominees yesterday. But you're not here for my opinions on this list, you're here for all the crazy people who care way too much about this list. So let's sit back, drink some coffee, eat a Snickers, and look at some people who put way too much stock into the opinions of people who they're going to immediately dismiss the literal second the Game Awards is over. So strap in, because we're getting weird with this one. And typically in these Twitter salt videos, I really build up to the bad ones, but this time we're just gonna go ahead and start with the most unhinged dude of the day, because this is what we call a video hook. At Xbox Curator says, "Fuck you, TGA. You ain't getting shit. Xbox is pulling the plug on anything they were gonna show to save your dog shit event. Burn in hell. Starfield or Hi-Fi Rush deserved it over a shitty 2D Mario game." I always love seeing accounts that are very obviously trying to like get the attention of a brand or be like representative of a brand so they can be an ambassador or something or get like a free care package. But then they act like this and then they scratch their heads as to why nobody at the company wants to associate with them. And it's not like this was a one-off because Xbox Curator was on a fucking roll yesterday. Shortly after this initial tweet, they say, "Xbox should show the Elder Scrolls 6 trailer on the same date as the Game Awards to take away all the attention from that fraud fest. Because dropping a 2-minute trailer of a game that's not coming out for like 20 years is totally gonna divert attention away from a 2-hour live stream.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them."
Xbox should put on a 2024 Xbox Games Showcase during the Game Awards to drive away most of the traffic. Because when the first tweet doesn't get the point across, just make the same exact tweet a second time and change a few of the words. I am not sorry about my rage post about the Game Awards Game of the Year. Fuck Starfield haters, and most of all, fuck Xbox haters. The Game Awards knew what they were doing with those selections, and for that they can burn in hell for all I care.
It's only a game. Why do you have to be mad?
And finally they say, "I think it's time for another Xbox publisher acquisition." Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it. Good lord, what other intelligent takes were being spread around? Let's get some other perspectives here. Uni Sensei says, "At this point, Phil Spencer will have to change his citizenship to Japanese for a nomination from good old Keeley. Xbox fans gotta stop giving this show views, it's the only way." Ugh, damn those Japanese game devs like Larian Studios and Remedy Entertainment. Wait, the Mad Hatticus says, "Jeff is a pony. Jeff chooses the outlets. Xbox can have a 10 out of 10 and it wouldn't matter. That said, I don't think Starfield deserves the nomination." Then why are we here? What do you do? Xbox could have a 10 out of 10 and it wouldn't get nominated. That said, I agree with it not being the nomination. Good job. Excellent use of the internet here. Hype says, "Starfield is officially flop of the year." Right, because if a game wasn't nominated for Game of the Year, that means it was a flop, even if it was one of the best-selling games of the year. Which is why Hogwarts Legacy, which sold over 15 million copies, was also a flop, because it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year. And Diablo 4, which generated over $600 million in 5 days, was also a flop, because it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year. And Jedi Survivor, whose sales easily topped the sales of the last game, that was also a flop because it wasn't J-Dub says, imagine spending $100 billion worth of publishers and studios and not have a single Game of the Year contender while others have multiple yearly. Sony and Nintendo couldn't be me. Hashtag the Game Awards. Hashtag nothing for you, Xbox. Hashtag no Starfield. Holy shit, I want to know how you put those hashtags in your tweet and unironically think you're not the one taking this too seriously. But also, do you seriously think the only reason to ever spend money on making products is to get Game of the Year awards? Like, I really don't get this argument. The most profitable games of the year are rarely the big award winners, you know? Call of Duty never wins shit, and it's still coming out every year because it tops the sales charts every year. Same with every sports game and every live service game. Oh, you know, the good live service games, the ones that actually turn a profit. If the only games worth spending money on publishing were the Game of the Year contenders, we'd get 6 games a year, which sounds really fucking boring. And also, this tweet just screams that you put way too much stock into other people's opinions, you know? You're out here talking about how, imagine not getting Game of the Year awards. We have so many Game of the Year nominees over here on PlayStation. You have one nominee. So taking this logic of your own tweet to its logical conclusion, you had one game worth playing this year on the PlayStation. Is that really the hill you want to die on? Andres says, available on PlayStation 4, available on Xbox 2, available on Switch 2. Yeah, and the Switch has drastically outsold both the PlayStation and Xbox. And the PC can play 5 out of these 6 games, and it will be 6 out of 6 once the Spider-Man port is inevitably announced. So like, genuinely, what are you trying to prove with this? Like, if you watch Salt videos, I'm sure you've seen this guy in many PlayStation fanboy videos. He's a huge PlayStation shill. But does this tweet not completely contradict your entire mindset? Because you're over here like, the PlayStation has 4 of the Game of the Year nominees, while the other platforms only have 2. Well, the Switch is drastically outselling the PlayStation, so it's almost like how many Game of the Year nominees you have on your platform shouldn't actually fucking matter. It's almost like you should just play the games that you like and not care so much. Like, genuinely, what are you trying to prove with this? I truly don't get what the point is. If you're trying to flex that the PlayStation has the most Game of the Year nominations out of all the consoles, I'm not sure how that's a W when the Switch has sold more than the competition and has the least number of Game of the Year nominees. Because the average gamer isn't this obsessed with people who aren't them saying they like a game on their platform. Guapzilla says $79 billion, 0 Game of the Years. Who am I? Joe from Seattle says, pays for a blue check mark, 9 likes. Who am I? Mr. Boomstick XL says, for the love of hashtag gaming, can someone, anyone, make this make sense? How can 3 unique genre-defining and industry-changing games, all of which have amazing art design, music, storytelling, and character lore, only get 2 nominations between them? And then pictures of Starfield, Hogwarts Legacy, and Diablo 4. I'm sorry, Diablo 4? Like, this Diablo 4? This one? Okay, guys. Snap Blast Play says some of the best Xbox exclusives didn't have great review scores thanks to Xbox tax. Remember, sub to Game Pass. Tap A. Try it out for yourself. And then he has screenshots of a bunch of Xbox One exclusives and their mediocre meta scores. Because when the goal is to defend Starfield, the best strategy is to bring up a bunch of games that nobody remembers. Like, I get that hindsight is a hell of a drug, but if you genuinely think any of these 4 games deserve being called some of the best Xbox exclusives, like, holy shit. Also, the Xbox version of Quantum Break has a 77 Metascore, so what are you lying for? This, like, you say Quantum Break has a 66, you're literally just wrong. Was that not close enough to the narrative, so you had to use the PC version's Metascore for that? God, this is ridiculous. Every year, the Game Awards causes a giant salt fest, but this year was so much worse than usual because, frankly, there were so many great games. Snubs were inevitable, but you know what changes your enjoyment of those games? Literally nothing. Either you enjoy the games or you don't. And I'll say it again, the panel of people determining the nominees is made up of a bunch of outlets that all of these people would be writing off in any other scenario. So I find this entire thing just hilarious. Play the games you want to play, and if you don't like a game that's nominated, gee willikers, guess it's time to not give a shit and go play games anyways, because it literally does not affect you. Toodles.